Every year here in England, thousands of girls and young women are forced into marriage by their parents. Well, under new proposals, it will become a criminal offence in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. The proposals would affect girls, above all, from Pakistani, Bangladeshi and Indian communities. Well, joining me from our Westminster studio now is Aneeta Prem from the Freedom Charity, who's just been at a roundtable discussion at the Home Office with the Prime Minister. Aneeta Prem, thanks very much indeed for joining us. I just wonder what it is that makes you think by criminalising forced marriage, whatever we might think of it, that's going to reduce the practice.
Well, I think what it is going to do, by this being announced today by the Prime Minister, that it will be a very clear signal to parents and families that engage in this kind of really horrendous abuse to their children, that it will be a criminal offence and the government will take it very seriously in this country.
But it does mean that for children to make that happen, to come forward and speak up, they run the risk of having their parents in the court.
They do run that risk, but actually what's going to happen if they don't report their parents, then those children are subjected to a life of domestic violence. When they're forced into marriage, they're serially raped, and often this leads to murder. So we have this argument quite often, actually. When we look at domestic violence 30 years ago, we were talking about husbands and wives testifying against each other. And in family courts that I deal with, in other work that I do, we often have children that are giving evidence against their parents because of the abuse that they're suffering. And this is how we view forced marriage. It is a form of abuse.
Right. I suppose we should make the distinction between forced marriage and what we call arranged marriages.
Yes, there is a very big difference. Arranged marriage is where a person has a right to choose who they marry. Their parents may introduce them or family may introduce them to someone, but they have the right to say no. A forced marriage is where they have no right to say no, and they're coerced and often tricked and blackmailed into the marriage.
Just give us an idea then, if this comes into law, what sort of sentence could be imposed on anyone found guilty of forcing their children into marriage?
Well, what's happened today is the Prime Minister has announced this is going to be a criminal offence, but actually the finite detail hasn't been announced yet, and that's due to go through Parliament.
What would be sensible? What would be sensible in your view?
I think it has to be a real deterrent. I think we need to look at it in the same view as we look at child abuse. So I think it has to be quite a strong custodial sentence we'd be looking at for the parents that are committing the worst kind of offences.
OK, we shall see how it pans out, but Aneeta Prem for now, thanks very much.
Thank you.